Talk about innovation, and I think come down to the another question.
It's great and it's so interesting to listen to talks, but you don't know how to necessarily apply it to yourself. And so today, I knew that today's session would have a lot of small and medium-sized companies. And so I want you to leave here today with some very tactical stuff. So if you get a pen and paper out, there's some things that I don't put on the slides that I'm going to ask you to write down. And it might sound a little bit like a class, but I do want you to walk away here with some very valuable information. So first of all, I got into advertising 25 years ago. And I had pursued journalism. I worked at CTV News for a while. I was in the news department at Canada AM, and I hated it. And I wanted to get out there. And I started a small agency. And most of you who have service-based businesses, a lot of you will have started because there was some sort of need. Or you saw an opportunity and you said, you know what, I think I can do this. And that's exactly what I did. And then you grow and you get a couple of clients. And as you grow bigger, then you step back and you realize, I don't actually really know what I do. You know, if you ever have trouble answering a question when somebody says, what do you do? And I've actually come across many companies where you say, what do you do? And they can't really describe it. Or you know, sometimes I've even heard people say, well, what do you want me to do? You know, and that's not really an answer that you want to give when you want to have a strong brand. So, I mean, look at the history of what a brand is. So if we really go way back, branding was the very cruel form of burning your family seal into either slaves, animal, livestock, and whatnot. So when people saw that brand in somebody's skin, they know that you were owned by that family. And the more livestock and the more slaves you had, the more powerful your family name was. And, you know, fast forward to today, branding is now, you know what, a lot of people, if I asked you, the audience, what is a brand? A lot of people will say logo. Some people will say it's your company name and things like that. But actually, it's kind of a combination of all of those things. And as the previous speaker was saying, that even the largest companies have a lot of vulnerabilities. And I've been in business for about 25 years, and I still make mistakes. You know, because at some point in time, you start a company, and if you're really organized, especially like, you know, if you have an MBA, you've gone to business school, you'll probably go through the necessary steps to start your business, and you say, this is what we are. And then all of a sudden one day, you're gonna get somebody who calls you and says, well, I know this is not really what you do, but can you do this? And boy, there's an attraction to do that, right? And you're chasing the dollar. And so I'll just tell you some of the stuff that's on TV that you would have seen that we did. During during February, there's the Canadian International Auto Show. It's the largest auto show in Canada. We do all the advertising for them. It fits totally within our mandate. We do, you know, high-end production and diversity. So we do multilingual versions of all their ads as well as the mainstream broadcasting and all the paper ads and outdoor. But we also do the Marineland TV commercials. Do you know how much flack we got for doing Marineland commercials? In fact, we had our cars destroyed in the parking lot when we showed up with a camera crew because in the last 2 years there were so many animal rights activists. And quite frankly, we've been contemplating just not even telling people that we do those ads. It's one of the largest media buys in the country. It's really hard to say no to something like that, right? And you know, we've done some stuff that, you know, I've almost wanted to distance our company from after the fact, but it was a matter of, you know, do we say no to the revenue and just stick to what we're doing, or do we actually go and chase that? And we've seen many companies over the years sort of have these similar problems, and I'll talk about some of those examples. So, what is a brand? Well, the brand is basically the image of the company. And today, the topic was staging your business. And no offense to ACCE, but I don't particularly like the word staging, because if any of you are in real estate, staging is just kind of putting some lipstick on the house and throwing some furniture that's not really in the house, just to make it look a lot better for the purpose of sale. With a brand, I'm going to get into talking about why the brand and your image is so important, because with every promise that you make, you have to actually have some truth that lives up to that as well. So the image that you portray as the leader or in the leadership of your company is extremely important, especially if you're in a services business. Okay, if you're in a services business, everything you do, so some high-tech companies, they say, listen, our brand is all about being cool, okay? So everybody's got to wear ripped jeans, and we've got to be, we got to have a pool table in the office, so when clients come, they say, we're cool. And so you have to really try to decide, okay, what is my image as the leader of this company, and what is the image that I want all my senior management to portray? The next thing, the brand is the promise that you communicate. Now, there are a lot of brands out there, and I'm sure we can think of a ton of brands where they promise something, but they don't actually deliver on the promise. That's a pretty weak brand, okay? So I would say the best thing to do is to step back a little bit and figure out what are the promises that you make, and can you actually deliver on, which is the truth that you deliver on, okay? Once you make a promise, and then you have some truth to back it up, well, then you're going to start to earn the trust. Okay, and earning the trust, as you know, even in personal relationships, once you've earned somebody's trust, if you break it, it takes probably 10 times longer to regain it again, all right? And the brand is also the story that passes from one person to another. A very strong brand will carry itself from one person's voice onto the next. And it's really, and that depends on how strong your image is. So why is the brand important? Well, the brand is really the trust that you're putting into people, okay? And it's how you present yourself and whether your word can be trusted. So when you're in a small business, most of the time, the president or the person who started the company is going to be the one out there up in front and pitching. You want to make sure that you've absolutely suggested something that you can deliver on, okay? And without a strong brand guiding the ship, you will eventually get lost. And there are lots of companies that do get lost. Like in the mid-90s, we were the agency of record for a company called Symantec. Now, many of you might know the Norton brand, Norton Antivirus, Norton Firewall, and things like that. So what happened with Symantec is they started out as a very strong brand. They actually built their own virus protection software, they had patents on it, and they sub-licensed Peter Norton to be the face of their software, which ended up being a mistake because even after Peter Norton got out of the business, they had to pay a royalty on every box sold. But they had so much equity in the name Norton Antivirus that they couldn't let go. But then what happened was, does everybody remember this faxing software called Del Reno WinFax? You could fax from your computer. There was an opportunity. They bought Del Reno WinFax. Then, another thing that became very popular was ghosting your hard drive. At that time, a lot of companies, only the big companies had servers, but small companies were starting to buy servers and ghosting their hard drive so that if the main drive failed, they could have a redundancy and pick up on the second drive. So now they had software, antivirus software. The internet was picking up in the 90s, so they built firewalls, then they got this WinFax software over here, and then they have Ghost over here. And they came to us and they said, you know what? We don't even know how to design our ads anymore because we don't even know what we do. And that's a very interesting question because WinFax alone was earning them a lot of revenue. But you know what? Ultimately what was decided in the end was that they would be an internet security company. And in doing that, they had to sell WinFax. And they had to get rid of the ghosting software. So when they sold off those two divisions, they pretty much said goodbye to a lot of revenue, hundreds of millions of dollars. They were based in Silicon Valley. It all kind of happened at the same time when the dot-com started crashing. They lost a lot of their share price, but they ultimately survived because they had a very strong brand. They became known as the enterprise solution for security. So it ended up becoming an internet security company, and that's what it is today. I don't know really how they're doing today because they don't spend half as much money on advertising. And actually, we bid through their Toronto office, which they ended up closing. Anyway, they closed everything down. But that wasn't the brand's fault. That was just the nature of the business. So when you want to present yourself in alignment with the brand, you have to first of all decide what your company stands for, and then make sure that you actually stand for the same ideals. You know, how many times I've heard somebody say, you know, this is what we say we do, but actually, you know what, don't worry about it, that's just the brochure, this is what we do. If you say that, honestly, I'm going to think that you don't actually believe in your stuff. If you don't believe in your stuff, why should I believe in it, right? And what is my company's value proposition? Like, what value do you have? The last speaker was saying anything can be duplicated, and it can, right? So you really have to decide what is the value. Now, if you say something like, well, we're the cheapest. Boy, that's a dangerous game to play. Okay, Dollarama built their value proposition on we're the cheapest. And you go in there, there's things for like $12 now. And they just announced a month ago that because of the price of shipping, inflation, fuel prices, all the products that they get from China and India right now, nothing is below like the $2.50, $3 price point. That doesn't sound like a dollar store to me. That's a multiple dollar store. So they've actually, by just mere virtue of their value proposition, they've actually hurt themselves because they weren't thinking long term. There's a lot of companies that we see, you know, especially based overseas, that say, our value, we're the cheapest. Well, you know what? There's always going to be somebody who's going to do it cheaper than you, right? We're the fastest. Probably there'll be somebody who can do it faster than you too. So I would come up with a strong value proposition, at least come up with a 3 to 5 year plan. A 3 to 5 year plan is something, and brands are constantly evolving. Don't think that, you know what, you're going to decide on, you go back to the office, decide on a brand right now, and that's going to be the way it's going to be in 10 years. No. There's multiple evolutions of a brand, okay? And think about your client's perception of you. Is it aligned with the brand image you want to create? Think of McDonald's. If I say McDonald's, you think, what, cheap, fast, unhealthy? But what they really want to do is, I mean, when they launch all their calorie counters, nutritional counters, they want you to think it's a healthy company, right? They want you to think it's a healthy solution. Now they're branding a lot of their stores as McCafes because they're trying to upscale it and try and take a big business from Starbucks and Cycle Cup. Is that working? It doesn't work on me. I don't know if it works on you. Do you ever say McCafe? Let's go to McCafe. I don't know, right? But that's what they're trying to do. So even the large brands struggle with it. Coca-Cola, one of the strongest international brands, struggled with that in the 80s. They went from Coca-Cola logo to Coke. And now if you buy Coke, it says Coca-Cola, just like the old logo from the 1950s. Because they realized they strayed way too far off from their original brand ideal. Now, thinking about your client's perception of you versus what you think, there's a very big difference, because what you think of your company may not necessarily be what your clients think, okay? And eventually, a brand has to come back to the promise, okay? And if you can, always under-promise and over-deliver, all right? You'll always look like a hero if you say that you do less than you can do. Kind of like, who's a Star Trek fan here? Scotty always told Captain Kirk there's no way he could do it, and he always got it done, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you guys, branding exercises are actually something that agencies do for companies and charge like tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm gonna actually go through that very quickly. I'm gonna give you stuff that you can write down, and you can save yourself a lot of money by just running that exercise. But let me just tell you first the reason why large brands fail. A lot of times they spend a lot of time, a lot of money creating that brand, getting you to believe something, but then they don't follow through with it. We've seen that time and time again, okay? They chase dollars. Hey, I know we're in business to make money, right? It's very hard to say no to money. But a lot of big companies, they chase dollars into all sorts of directions that drains a lot of their resources, and then they realize like a couple of years later they're no longer aligned with the brand that they originally decided on. And also, they don't stay current, and their leadership doesn't fall in line with the brand promise. So what I would like all of you to do, if you're interested in reviewing your brand, is to do a brand audit. Okay, brand audits, I can tell you, like when we do them for clients, we're doing a couple right now, our fees are like anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 to rebrand, okay, or to develop a brand. Now there's a difference between rebranding and branding. Branding is you're starting from scratch. Rebranding would be like, for example, when all the Canadian banks started to sell insurance products and whatnot, they wanted to get the word bank out of their name. So Royal Bank of Canada became RBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce became CIBC. They wanted you just to remember the acronym because they were getting into the insurance space and they were selling all sorts of other products, and they know that if you hear the word bank, you just think that they're a bank, okay? So these are the things you need to ask yourself, all right? The first question we always do in a brand audit is we go, what is your brand perception, okay? What is your brand position? Okay, your brand position is the perceptual space that your brand holds in the consumer's mind. So when you mention your company name, what do your clients think? Okay, that's your brand position. That is the reality. The next question is, what is your brand objective? Okay, what do you want your clients to think? And the reason why you're going to do this exercise is because you'll actually come up with some very interesting answers. And I suggest you ask the questions among your whole leadership. If you all come up with the same answers, it means that you're very strong internally. If you all come up with different answers, then that's not a good sign. Okay. So the first question: what is your brand position? What do customers think of you? The second one is: what is your brand objective? Okay. What do you want your customers to think of you? Okay. And what do you do to communicate your brand? All right. What are some of the vehicles you use? Do you do advertising? Do you know? A lot of companies don't need to advertise, but it's what do you do to get that message out? And then, who are your natural customers? For every consumer brand, there is a natural constituency of customers. Those are the ones that are the low-hanging fruit. You don't have to work too hard to get them. But then there's always a group of people that you want to get. Those are the ones that you need in order to grow your business. What do they want from you? So that's, our last speaker was talking about unmet need. What is it that they want from you? And can you deliver it? And then the last one is, what is the evidence that you have? Okay, so what is the evidence that you have that proves that you deliver on the promise that you communicate?
My second thing I learned, I soon will call my insurance agent and reduce my insurance coverage because I don't need a big